Hi, it's Steph. Welcome back to my channel where I give you quick tips and tricks on how to navigate Excel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to insert subtotals, but pay attention because I'm going to be showing you some of the tricks that I use personally every day when I use Excel, and I'll do that to prepare my spreadsheet to enter the subtotals. Let's hop over and take a look. So here I have a database that I got from another source, and the totals here are hard-coded. They are not actual formulas, and I can tell that because up here in the formula bar it's just a number. It's not a formula. So if I want to make these subtotals, let me start by copying this spreadsheet to a new tab, and my quick way of doing that is to press my Control key and drag it over. And now it created a duplicate of the tab. So this will be my subtotal tab. I just renamed it by double-clicking in the tab to rename it. So now I want to be able to see all my columns on this spreadsheet. So I'm going to change the column widths. So the way to do that, I can select the whole spreadsheet by clicking in this upper left cell and just dragging one of the columns to a smaller width, and it changed everything to be that same width. So now I can see all my columns on one page. But you can see I don't see all the column headers here, and a way that we can make our column headers appear is to just make sure that the text is wrapped by clicking on this Wrap Text button up here on the Home menu. So let me click Wrap Text twice. The first time is to unwrap it and then rewrap it, which will cause the row to expand to be able to fit everything. Now, in order to create subtotals, I need to have a common column value. I'm going to insert a column here to the right or to the left of column A, and I do that by choosing this header with my right-click mouse button, which brings up a shortcut menu to say Insert. I'm going to call this one Market. This one I'm going to rename to Salesperson. Now all of my markets, I want this one to be Hill Valley on all of these people. So I will right click to bring up my, oh, it didn't do that. Let's just hit Control C for copy, and then highlight these cells where I want it to appear and do Control V for paste. And now Hill Valley is there. Again, for these, Control C is a quick copy, Control V is a paste, Control C, Control V. So now I have my common column, but I can get rid of these rows that I don't need anymore. And again, click in the row header and right click. Now my right click is working, and choose Delete. Then I can choose rows 7 and 8 and do the same thing. Right click, Delete. Another option is I can choose these rows and press F4, which is the redo function, and one more, right click, delete. I press D to delete it. So now I have a column that is common for all the data, and this is the one that I'm going to make my subtotals on. But let's also reformat this column so it doesn't look so different. They're all in bold, and I can press Control B to unbold them. And then if I want to get rid of the shading, while they're all still selected, I can pull down this shading function here and say No Fill. And now they look like all the other rows. So now to the part that I really want to show you, which is about how to insert subtotals. All my data is contiguous here. There are no blank columns, no blank rows. So I can click anywhere in the data and go to my data menu. And over here on the far right, you'll see a subtotal button. I'll click subtotal, and now it's prompting me, and it's pretty smart. It knows that every time there's a new market, it suspects that I want to sum it, and which ones have the values that I want to sum. I actually want it to sum everything from first-time sales visits all the way to new leads. So let's just click all of these buttons, go back to first-time sales visits, make sure I didn't miss anything, and replace current subtotals. That's default and that's fine. I don't have any to replace and that's okay. And place a summary below the data. I'll say yes, meaning the subtotals will be at the bottom. If I changed it, if I went to subtotals and changed it to summary above the data, which by unselecting this box, now you can see my totals are at the top. But it's more intuitive to have them at the bottom. So I'll go back to here. Now the nice thing about subtotals is it creates these groupings over here on the left. So you can actually collapse it to just see the grand total or the totals by market or all your data. And then what I like to do when I'm at level 2 is select these individual rows and press Control B to bold them. Now you can see based on the first cell that was active, those were already bolded, so it assumed I wanted to unbold them. So that's what it did. Never fear, press Control B again and it will bold everything. And we can also do some top and bottom borders. I think that would look good. So that's on the home menu. Under this font area, you can choose top and bottom border. And then the grand total, let's bold that one as well. Control B twice and throw on a bottom double border. Now when I expand it, things look a little more easy to read. And one last thing that we might want to do is shade all of these. So let's shade them in gray and re-expand that. Now, what I wanted to tell you about the subtotal function is you can see what it created. Subtotal, and then parenthesis with a 9, and then in this case C2 through 6. Here is subtotal 9, C8 to 11. What does this 9 mean? Let me show you. If I start typing the formula, equals subtotal, and open the parenthesis, it gives a whole list of what functions I can choose to perform. We can choose to average the values, count the values, count A, which means count all the ones that are not blank, choose the maximum, the minimum, the product, standard deviation, etc. Sum is the one that you're most going to use. I would say sum, average, count, all of these. So I will hit escape. Well, let's just finish out the formula. So you put a 9 because we're going to do the sum, the comma, and then it wants the reference, which is this range. And then we can close the parenthesis. And there you have it. So the interesting thing about subtotals here, the grand total has this subtotal 9, again, which is our sum. And if I press F2 to edit the cell, it will highlight everything and it'll show you what it's doing. What it's doing is doing a subtotal all the way from row 2 to 19. But what about 11, this one on row 7, this one on row 12? What's it doing with those? It's actually not including those in the total because it's using a subtotal function. So you'll see if I delete this value, the 11, now keep your eye on the grand total number 38. If I delete the 11, that doesn't change. I can delete the 19, that doesn't change because, again, those subtotals are already being excluded from this value. So let me press undo twice up here to put those values back in. And I just wanted to show you one of the things to be aware of when you do subtotals. I'm going to put a sum function here, equals sum, and say I wanted to sum these values everything excluding the grand total. Notice it's 76. That's not right. Our sum is actually, we would want it to be just these values here, which sums to 38. So this number here is working as a subtotal. The sum number doesn't understand to exclude anything that's a subtotal. So that is super important to know, is when you're using a subtotal function, never ever mix or combine a sum function with a subtotal function. They do two different things and you're going to get bogus results. So I hope you found that information helpful. If you did, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel so you can get more tips and tricks. But I hope that helped you understand the subtotal function. If you have any questions about it, please go ahead and leave a comment below, and I'll see you next time.